In moments of deep transition, you might find yourself feeling a strange sense of disconnection, as if floating between timelines. It's a feeling that is not brokenness, but suspension. You're not stuck in place, but rather being held in this sacred space before the shift begins. This is quantum superposition in action. You might feel like nothing is moving, as though time is still, but in reality, everything is being re-rendered in the background. What seems like stagnation is merely the recalibration of your frequency, preparing you for the next phase of your journey. The energy that is now gathering around you is subtle but powerful. The shift is near, but it must first align and fine-tune. It's easy to misinterpret this pause as a sign of failure, but it's actually one of the most powerful stages of transformation. Your internal universe is adjusting, recalibrating, and setting the stage for what's next. Remember, you're not stuck. You're sacredly suspended in a space of transformation where the impossible becomes possible, and the quantum shift is just around the corner. What once felt aligned now begins to feel foreign. You move through familiar rooms, speak with familiar voices, revisit familiar thoughts, yet something in you notices a quiet misalignment. The rhythm you once trusted no longer carries you. The walls of the life you built still stand, but their resonance has changed. The foundation vibrates against you rather than with you. This is not collapse in the way the mind imagines. It is not chaos, not the violent tearing down of structures. It is more subtle, the way a song begins to fall out of tune, the way colors slowly lose their brightness at dusk. You are still surrounded by what once sustained you, yet you can feel the dissonance deep in your body. The frequency no longer fits. This is frequency discord, a quantum decoherence of the self. The choices, bonds, and patterns that once carried your signature now seem to belong to someone else entirely, and in truth they do. You are not the person who made those agreements, who built those routines, who believed in those goals. That identity has already shifted. The residue of the old life is what remains, lingering like the echo of a voice in an empty hall. Relationships that once defined you now feel strained, stretched thin by an unseen force. Habits you once followed without question now taste bitter, hollow, unfinished. Even goals you worked for with discipline and devotion no longer spark meaning. They are artifacts of an earlier version of you, artifacts that cannot contain the frequency you inhabit now. It is like trying to run new code on obsolete hardware. The system resists. It stutters, glitches, slows under the weight of commands it cannot comprehend. No matter how hard you try to repair or optimize, the architecture itself is outdated. It cannot hold the upgrades you require.
So the breakdown begins, quietly, elegantly, inevitably. But do not mistake this subtle dissolution for failure. This is the necessary unraveling of systems that no longer serve. The universe does not waste energy maintaining what has expired. The mismatch you feel is not punishment, but permission. It is the signal that the old scaffolding is being released so that something new, something aligned with the truth of who you are becoming, can take form. Listen closely and you will sense it. The dissolving is not destruction, but transformation in progress. The spaces left behind are not voids to fear, but openings for what will come next. The familiar dissolves because you are no longer bound to it. You are no longer the one who made it. You are already something more. If your chest softened, anchor it by pressing like. Tell the field to hold this.
There comes a moment, unmarked by ceremony or sound, when the self you once wore begins to quietly loosen. Roles, titles, ambitions, even the rhythms of your desires, they don't vanish all at once. They simply stop fitting. What once lit you up no longer ignites. The masks you wore for safety, for love, for survival, they now feel heavy in your hands, like armor after the war is over. You try to speak as you once did, think as you once thought, want what you once wanted, and the words fall flat. The wanting feels artificial. You can sense it. The architecture of your former identity is being deconstructed from the inside. But here's the truth. This isn't loss. This is expansion. You are not dissolving. You are unfolding. The discomforts you feel, the stretching, the grief, the strange weightlessness, it isn't failure, it's confirmation. You are in motion. You are shifting layers. The structures within you are being realigned to hold more truth, more energy, more you. Neural pathways begin to unplug. Synapses once fired in automatic loyalty to old patterns now hesitate. Your brain feels foggy, yes, but only because it's between maps. The GPS you once relied on is being rewritten, not corrupted, updated. And you're not broken, you're unbound. Imagine this. Threads being pulled gently from a tapestry you no longer wear, not torn, not burned, just unraveled, strand by strand, until only the essence remains. The design isn't being destroyed, it's being repurposed. What served as your identity up until now was never meant to be permanent. It was a chrysalis, and you are outgrowing it. You may try to cling to definitions that once made you feel safe. I'm this kind of person. I belong to this place. I always choose this. But the grip will slip. Not because you are failing at who you were, but because that version of you has completed its task, and its exit is making room for what comes next. There is a kind of sacred disorientation here. You are not meant to feel certain, you are meant to feel
true. And truth rarely arrives with clarity at first. It arrives with shedding. Let it. Let the roles collapse. Let the stories fade. Let the scaffolding fall away. Because behind it all, there is a self not built from memory or expectation, but from presence. A self that does not perform identity, but embodies essence. You are not disappearing. You are becoming. Comment, "I'm ready to leap." It's a clear signal to the universe that you're ready.
There are moments, strange and sudden, where clarity cuts through the noise like lightning in a dark sky. A déjà vu, a knowing, an insight that doesn't come from thinking, but from somewhere else. These are not accidents. They are transmissions. The future version of you, the one already walking a timeline where your evolution has bloomed, is reaching back through the veil. You are not imagining it. You are entangled across time. Quantum entanglement isn't just physics, it's experience. It's the unspoken way your body recognizes a truth your mind hasn't caught up to yet. That whisper to leave the room, that sudden conviction to say yes, that inner certainty that makes no logical sense but feels more real than anything you've ever known. This is your future self, already here, sending signals through sensation. You felt it, the strange pull towards something you've never seen but somehow recognize. The craving to end a cycle that hasn't technically begun. The dream that doesn't fade with waking. These aren't random, they're breadcrumbs, and when you follow them, the path unfolds from the inside out. It doesn't appear ahead of you like a map. It blooms beneath your feet as you walk. You are not being led from the outside. You are being activated from within. The unraveling of your old identity wasn't an ending, it was a tuning. And now that your frequency is shifting, you are beginning to sync with another version of yourself, one that already holds what you're moving toward. This is not prediction, this is alignment. You don't have to figure it out. You only have to feel what resonates and trust it. That shiver down your spine, that sudden rush of peace in the middle of uncertainty, that full body yes that bypasses logic. These are confirmations, not curiosities. You are already in dialogue with what's next. It speaks in symbols. It speaks in sensation. It speaks in the subtle electricity beneath your skin when something clicks, even if you don't know why yet. You're not just walking toward your future. You're already entangled with it. And in this space, between who you've been and who you are becoming, there is only one instruction. Listen deeper than thought. Because your future self isn't shouting, it's humming. In your dreams, in your gut, in the parts of you that don't use words. And if you trust that frequency, it will carry you across the threshold of this moment into the life already waiting for you on the other side. Join the frequency, not the feed. Subscribe for attunement, not clutter. Treat subscribe as a vow to your becoming. The rest will meet you. Just as the old begins to fall, you'll feel the pull to patch it up, to fix it, to run back in and salvage what's slipping through your fingers. This is the final temptation. The mind hates a void. It rushes to fill what feels empty, even if it must reach for what no longer serves. You'll feel the magnetic tug of old plans, familiar roles, reliable distractions. You'll try to convince yourself, maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe I can make it work. Maybe if I just try harder. But this isn't clarity, it's ego. What's really happening is this. The ego is making its last stand. It senses that its grip is loosening, and so it scrambles to regain control. It will offer you familiar pain dressed as safety. It will weaponize productivity to avoid stillness. It will disguise frantic effort as forward motion, but all of it is static. You cannot rebuild what is no longer meant to exist, and you cannot resurrect a timeline that expired by force. This moment demands surrendered embodiment, not clever strategy. You don't need to make anything happen. You need to let what's already happening complete its arc. The quantum field doesn't respond to how hard you try. It responds to who you are being. And if you're vibrating with desperation, fear, or self-doubt, you'll only pull in more of it. But when you choose stillness, presence, trust in the unseen, that's when timelines shift. Let go of the compulsion to act just to feel safe. Pause before trying to rebuild what fell apart for a reason. The collapse is sacred, and so is the space it creates. The ego believes effort is power, but spirit knows resonance is the true creative force. Don't try to use a match to relight a sun that's already risen. The light is already here. You don't need to recreate the warmth. You only need to stop blocking it. The energy of this moment may feel like chaos, but beneath it is precision, a sacred intelligence restructuring your reality at the root. Trust that your next chapter is not being built by your hands, but by your frequency. The old is disintegrating not because you failed, but because you're finally aligned enough to move beyond it. So, yes, it will feel tempting to fix, rebuild, or retreat. But every time you choose not to do that, every time you sit in the silence and wait for the real signal, you affirm to the universe, I am ready for the new. Comment, I release the old. It creates space for what's next. Arrival doesn't always feel like arrival. There isn't always a trumpet blast, a sudden flash of light, or the cliché of an aha moment. Sometimes it feels like nothing at all, like making tea on an ordinary morning, unaware that something fundamental has already shifted inside you. We imagine breakthroughs as fireworks, but in truth, they're often whispers. Reality doesn't knock, it seeps. A new timeline doesn't begin with fanfare, it begins quietly, with a subtle knowing, a thought that doesn't feel like effort, a conversation that flows in an unexpected direction, a decision that lands with an ease you can't explain. These are the fingerprints of arrival. They don't demand your attention, they simply are. And yet, this is the moment your leap has already happened. Not in the future, not when you see the proof, but here, in the shift of resonance beneath your skin. The myth is that transformation announces itself in clarity, that one day you'll wake up and know. But in reality, the knowing arrives first and the evidence comes later. The sequence is reversed. The inner frequency adjusts before the outer circumstances align. This is why waiting for visible confirmation can feel like standing at a door that never opens. You are already inside. The door was never locked. Quantum shifts don't broadcast themselves through logic. They encode themselves in sensation, in the quiet confidence that emerges for no reason. You might not be able to explain why you feel different, but you do, and that difference is the arrival. It's subtle, but it's real. Consider this. You don't feel the earth rotate, yet it spins. You don't hear the grass grow, yet it rises. In the same way, you may not feel the arrival in grand gestures, but the trajectory of your life has already turned. The leap is not something you do, it's something you notice retroactively. Looking back, you realize, I was already there before I saw it. So if you find yourself searching for evidence, pause. The proof will come, but it will always trail behind the knowing. The real invitation is to trust the imperceptible, to honor the shift in tone, the sudden ease, the quiet courage that wasn't there yesterday. These are the signatures of a reality already rewritten. You are not waiting for arrival, you are recognizing it. Because the leap doesn't happen with a bang, it happens with a breath, and by the time you notice, you're already on the other side. Mark the moment with a like. The ripple will return as clarity. If this steadied you, imprint it. The like becomes a recall point. Sometimes the first proof that something has shifted doesn't come as a grand event. It comes in fragments. A chance encounter on the street, a conversation that ends a cycle you thought would never close, an unexpected emotion rising up like a wave, sadness, relief, even joy, for no clear reason. These are not random. They are signals. What you're witnessing is the field reorganizing around you. Your inner frequency has shifted, and now reality is calibrating to match. It doesn't rush, it clicks into place with precision. one small lock at a time. Imagine the sound. Click, click, click. Tiny locks closing all around you, unseen but undeniable. This is how vibrational alignment begins to show itself, not with explosions of certainty, but with small synchronicities that feel like whispers from the invisible. The coffee shop runs out of what you usually order, nudging you toward something new. A delay keeps you from one path, only to reveal another that feels exactly right. A stranger says a sentence you didn't know you needed to hear. These micro-events are not interruptions, they are confirmations. Clarity doesn't always arrive as lightning. It often arrives as calibration. And the more your energy attunes to the frequency of what's next, the more your environment starts to magnetize the pieces that belong. Magnetic resonance begins subtly. You'll notice that certain rooms feel different. Certain conversations no longer drain you. Certain choices suddenly feel inevitable, not because you reasoned them out, but because they fit. This is the field responding. This is the field reshaping itself around the new version of you. And here's the key: you don't have to force this process. The quantum field doesn't need micromanagement. It needs resonance. Your job is to notice the evidence, not to manufacture it. So when those small signs show up, when closure happens in places you thought were frozen, when ease slips into corners that used to be tight, when coincidences stack like stepping stones, take a breath. Recognize them for what they are. They are reality rethreading itself around your new frequency. At first, it will feel subtle, almost dismissible, but as the locks keep clicking, as the small alignments gather into momentum, you'll feel the scaffolding of a new life forming. And then what once felt like scattered signs will reveal themselves as the architecture of a timeline that has already landed. The leap is not waiting to arrive. It is already here, showing itself in pieces. Your role is to trust the fragments, to see the sacred in the ordinary, and to let the evidence build its rhythm around you. Because this is how the new reality enters, not all at once, but click by click, until the whole field has turned to face you. Subscribe to step into the cadence. These drops arrive when your window opens. Treat subscribe as a vow to your becoming. The rest will meet you. There comes a moment when even the sacred must be set down, not in rejection, but in reverence. Not because it was wrong, but because it is no longer needed. You begin shedding layers you once clung to, identities that helped you survive, beliefs that once felt expansive, motivations that kept you moving. Even spiritual ideas, rituals, and goals begin to dissolve in the light of something softer, simpler, truer. This isn't a loss, it's a refinement. What's happening now is subtle. You're dropping the last density, not just of thought, but of effort, not just of doubt, but of urgency, because in this next reality, lightness is the portal. The more you carry, the longer it takes to leap. The more you push, the more resistance you create. Urgency is friction. It slows the field. But stillness is speed. Stillness is not stagnation. It is coherence. A signal so clear that the quantum field responds without hesitation. There is no struggle, no distortion, only resonance, only alignment. And alignment now demands lightness, not as a prize you earn once you've done the work, but as a prerequisite for what's ahead. This is why your old drives, even the noble ones, are crumbling. The need to prove, to strive, to heal endlessly, to do more, all of it is becoming too heavy to hold. Your system is rejecting complexity. Your energy is turning minimalist. And the silence you feel isn't emptiness. It's preparation. Not everything gets to come with you. Some frequencies don't match where you're going, no matter how meaningful they once were. The struggle that shaped you doesn't get to define you anymore. The ambition that drove you doesn't get to choose what happens next. The next version of you isn't built on intensity. It's built on coherence, clarity, simplicity. You don't have to carry your lessons like luggage. You only need to carry yourself, and that self is getting lighter every day. So if you feel like everything is falling away, good, let it. If your mind no longer knows what to reach for, pause. If your motivation is dissolving, rest. These are not signs of collapse. They are signs of readiness. What's meant to stay will stay without your grip. What's meant to go will leave without your permission. And what's next will arrive without your force. Because lightness isn't what you get at the end. It's how you recognize the beginning. Write your new identity in a single word. Pin it here as a living spell. Comment aligned. It tunes your frequency to the new track.
You've already started. The shift is in progress. The leap you've been waiting for isn't in the distance. It's already unfolding beneath your feet. We imagine leaps as a single moment, a dramatic crossing from before to after. But in truth, the leap is not an event. It's a motion, a continuum, a living current that began the moment your frequency changed. You're already in it. Quantum jumps rarely feel like explosions. They feel like integrations, steady, cellular, embodied. They weave through your system quietly, teaching your nervous system to trust what the mind still questions. The leap doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. And here's the secret. Your body often knows before your mind accepts. The breath deepens. The shoulders soften. The urgency fades. Without announcing it, the body signals, we're safe to move forward now. This is the leap
not in theory, but in sensation. The field is calibrating around you, and your body is already participating in the new rhythm. So, if you're waiting for fireworks, pause. Notice instead the way ease is creeping into places that used to hold tension. Notice how receptivity is replacing effort, how trust is replacing strategy. These are not small shifts. They are the leap itself, landing moment by moment. Your only task now is to let it carry you, to stop measuring progress by external proof, and instead listen to the current inside you. It knows the way. The leap isn't about heroic striving. It's about surrendering to the momentum that's already alive. Trusting that you're not falling into the unknown, but rising into alignment. And so the invitation is simple. Step fully in. Stop hovering at the threshold. Stop questioning whether it's real. Stop asking if you're ready. You are ready, because you're already in motion. The leap doesn't wait for your mind's permission. It begins with your resonance, and you've already crossed the threshold. So now, walk with it, breathe with it, embody it. The future isn't coming, it's here. Follow me if you're ready.